I'm going to show you how we can have a web project that we made here and have it run and be available on GitHub so that we can access it there, that we have version control, that we can make our changes, and also that we can collaborate with other people. So this is a project that was an idea of a student of mine where we could take these little blocks here and these little construction blocks and we could connect them together. And I'll make another video on specifically how that is made. But this was just a nice demo project to show you, because it would be cool if we could have this online so other people could actually try it out. And how do we do that? Well, the first thing that we are going to do, so every file that's available here is in this folder, which is called My Cool Project. So it has an index.html, CSS, all the assets, so all the images that you've seen, and then the library that we're using, which is called fabric.js. Now, if we want to put this online, the easiest way that I found is to go to the github.com, make sure that you have an account. If you don't have one, it's super easy to sign up, and then click the little plus here and choose New Repository. So repository is basically like an online place where you can store your code. So it stores all the code, but more than just the code, it also stores all the images, all the files, basically your whole project folder. And very importantly, also the history of that project. And that means that we can collaborate together, share changes, and make sure that we're always on the same page and that we always have the latest version. That's really important. So I'm going to call this project like image construction kit, something like this. And here I can choose whether I want to have it public or private. I'll choose public. I can have a description if I want. And that's it. I don't have to make anything else here. If I want, I could also initialize this, maybe add a git ignore, but I don't really know what this is. So do we have HTML? We're just going to ignore that. And we're also going to ignore the license for now, but it might be important to set a license if you want, so that we know that other people can use it. And MIT is basically a good choice. Anyway, so let's choose this one. Let's don't do the git ignore thing because I don't know which one to pick here. And then just create repository. Could be that this thing is not here. This is because I use a plugin here. So this is my basic repo. Note that this is not the same as this folder, because in a minute we need to copy all of these files from this folder into this image construction kit folder. Now, how do we get this folder onto our computer? Well, that's where GitHub Desktop comes in. So if you don't have that yet, you can go to desktop.github.com, download that version for Mac or Windows, and then install it. And that will also ask you to sign in. I've already signed in here. So this application, I already have it. I'm signed in, so I'm ready to be available. Now, it might be that there's nothing open here. This is because I already have a project open. But this is where this comes in. So now what I can do here is I can choose to set this up into GitHub Desktop. So what I can do here is in this button, choose Open in Desktop. It could also be, if you don't specify to include a README, that it says Setup in Desktop. That's also fine, and you can click that button as well. In this case, it's easier to start with a README file, so I can choose here Open in Desktop. It might ask for confirmation, that's fine. And now it says, okay, I'm going to clone this repository. So I'm going to make a copy locally of this whole repository, including all the changes from this URL. This is where my source is, to this folder. So this is on the desktop called Image Construction Kit, which is what I want. You might want to choose another folder here, like projects or documents or whatever. But here, for this purpose of this demonstration, this is fine. So I choose clone. And that's going to copy everything over, so including all the files and whatever. But in this case, it's just these two files, license and readme. That's it. There's nothing more here. Okay, so we have this folder here. We can look at it. And you see that we just have these two files here. So there's nothing else going on with this file here. But now comes the crucial part. We need to stop working in this folder, and we need to start working into this image construction kit. So what we're going to do is just take all the files and move them over into this folder. Note that nothing happens online. This is just locally, this is just on my computer, so that I now have all these files here. Now if I go to GitHub Desktop, you'll see that immediately that I have a bunch of changes here. So all of these are changes, all are these new files. They're indicated with this plus icon, meaning these are new files. They weren't available before. And those are these PNG files, the CSS file, the HTML file, JavaScript file, and so forth. So here I can type a message. For example, I can say initial version or something. And if I want, I can do add a description here. Click to create new boxes. Note that this is just the changes. This is not a README. So now we can click commit. And committing only commits this locally. So it doesn't actually, again, doesn't change anything here. So if we refresh here, we still see only these two files. It's only when we push that we actually see these changes online. So if we click this button, we can push these changes online. So I'll do that right now. And this takes a while because now we are uploading all these assets. And now if we refresh this page, we can see that we have all our new files here. So our assets are here, CSS is here, JavaScript is here, and so forth. And here in this tab, history, we can see that we have two versions. So we had our initial commit. So this is the one that has the README. That's the one that was automatically created by GitHub. And then we have our initial version that contains all these files. Now let's make a change here. For example, in this image construction kit, I've noticed that one of the images, where is my, okay, so I'll open that in Visual Studio Code. Maybe that's easier. I'll choose Desktop Image Construction Kit. And then I have this live server plugin that I can use to actually show this index.html file. So I can click Go Live here, and that will open this up. So this looks good. But I noticed that this image is a bit too big. So I'm not sure what the name is of this image. This was called Grijze Hoek, which is called Gray Corner. So let's open that file in an image editor, like Acorn, for example, which is super easy. This one. And now we probably want to crop this. So we just select this area of the image that we want, press enter and save. And now what we can see is, first off, this has changed in the environment. So you see that this image is now nicely cropped, which is what we want. And then also, if we go to the GitHub Desktop, we can see that this file has changed, and only this file. So there's a change now where it says, okay, this is a new file. So cropped image, for example. And now I can commit, push again, and that's going to push my changes here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a remote change. So imagine that somebody else is working on this repository as well. I can actually simulate that by in GitHub, actually add a change here. Cool image construction program. I've made a change here. I've committed. And now I've made this change, but this change doesn't show up here, right? This is still the old text. The new text that we have here online is not available yet. And that's because we are not including the changes that we have here, because it's up to us. We have to be explicit that we want to fetch. So fetching basically means take all these changes that you have and look on the server if there's anything new. So I can click this button. And now it says, well, there's one commit waiting for you to be accepted. So do you want to get that here? Do you want to pull it in? Do you want to accept it and take that in? So I'm going to say yes, pull. And now what I can see immediately is that this change is now also local. So I can now see the change here. So this is the way that we can work if we're with two people. We can push changes, we can use fetch and basically just smash this button every time, either for getting the changes from somebody else or for pushing our own changes. And then here we can just check off the changes that we want to accept or not. That's it. Thanks.